Okay, so the final, I guess, look at the reference, or I guess the final discussion of about the reference, and off we go sculpting and modifying things. I was able to find more images of Lex online, and they are going to be quite useful. So this is the original image that I was using for the, well, this is one I was using for the height, right, and just the overall proportions. And having discussed Donatello's work, I would say that this image, due to the lenses of the camera, Lex here is done. That's not the right way to put it. He's not done. He's more Donatello-esque, like, right? He's more not lean, but he's kind of elongated in some sense, right? The head is longer. He's just not taller, but I mean longer, right? Because of the focal length of the camera, of the lenses. Whereas here it's almost the opposite, because it's well, different lenses, different focal view or focal point. Here he's almost the opposite, right? He's almost like shrunk. So his face, his head is almost like a sphere in here. But this is still very useful, because we can see the proportions a little bit better, right? Just the width, the musculature, the kind of the bulkiness. And in this particular image, what I really liked is the well, the kind of the figurative quality of it, the line that I see here. And so what I'm gonna try and do is I'm gonna try and capture some of those lines that I see here on this image, right? And I will try to capture some of the bulkiness that I see on those images, and at the same time I will try to go with this kind of elongated look as well. So let's see where this will how this will go. Okay, this is a bit strange, because this is me coming from the future. It's quite something to get back to this and to edit all of those movies, all of those recordings 4 months after they had been done. So very interesting, a lot to observe and to learn. But the reason why I'm here, why I'm breaking the flow of the present and introducing the future, is because I've recorded a lot. Almost every step of the way has been recorded. And so the sculpting itself, there are probably like 10 chapters dedicated just to sculpting, excuse me. And because the original format was geared towards people who actually do this kind of things, right? Character artists, people working in film industry, video game industry, or just collectibles or something like that. And the format is no longer that. So what I have decided to do is to make the whole thing short, but interesting, and hopefully somewhat entertaining. And so instead of just commenting on the sculpting process, which takes hours, I've decided that I would just step in and explain the reason why I'm not going to comment, and probably not even going to show the whole process, but I'm going to do some commentary afterwards. I'm going to do some comparison and just explain perhaps a little bit about what happened behind the scenes. But there's another thing that I wanted to bring out before it's too late, and looking at the screen I might be getting too close, so I need to be really fast, real quick. So when I was making this, I've told about the project to my wife, and when she saw some of the screenshots, when she saw some of the process, she asked me, well, where is the genitalia? And it didn't really sit with me, in a sense that, well, I'm making a sculpture of somebody who's going to be wearing a suit in the end, right? And this is how normally you would do things in the industry. This is how you would do things for film or for video games. Again, you just create something that serves you as a base. After that, you create clothing. You either simulate clothing on top of the body, or you construct the clothing on top of the body. So the body doesn't really require any genitalia, right? It doesn't require any anatomical fullness of the body. But this is a different situation. This is a different subject altogether, because I am, after all, making somebody who actually, well, not actually, but who exists, right? We are talking about Lex Fridman. And so even though the likeness is definitely not there at this point, I haven't touched his head, and I'm working on the body, which I haven't seen, right? I'm just guessing what. Well, here we go, right? In some strange territory. I'm guessing what he looks like without clothing. But it is a subject, I think, worth bringing up. And so for that particular reason, I'm not going to show the sculpting because it just feels a bit strange, right? It's a real person, and it probably needs fullness if I want to make justice to that. So the way I see it is that I have three options. So option number one would be to don't show anything, right? Don't show the whole process of sculpting the body, and just move on to the clothing and go from there. Option number two would be to contact Lex and say whether he'd be okay with me showing the process of sculpting his body without having the fullness of the anatomy and without covering that lack of the anatomy. So that's just a strange conversation to begin with. Or option number three is to show as little as possible of that particular subject, right? And explain exactly what I'm trying to explain here, that this is the process, this is how things are done. And I should have been more mindful of it before recording the way I did record that, because I could have left those tiny the tiny underwear all throughout the whole sculpting process, but I didn't, right? And so that's just something that I thought I would bring up. And with that said, I'm going to just leave the Donatello conversation in here, and then we will just have a look at everything that I've done in terms of the sculpting. I'm just going to compare the previous version with the one that I've come up with after all of the sculpting was done. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the stylization or examples of this, I guess, this style that I will most likely be aiming at. So I've gathered a few scans. They are by Donatello, at least some of them. This one, I'm not sure if this is Donatello. I think it's attributed to him, but I couldn't find the the exact truth about this sculpture, whether it was Donatello in fact, or maybe it was one of his students. I don't know. I just love this sculpture, and just in general, Donatello has an amazing style. He was an incredible artist as well. So this sculpture, this figure, so this is John the Baptist as a boy, or perhaps as a teenager. There's just something about his expression and just the way it's executed. It's so magnetic, right? He's looking somewhere down, almost to the side, right? Somewhere there. So it's just the strange thing to see that the sculpture is not looking above, not looking at the view or anything like that, just looking somewhere sideways, right? And it's just so, I don't know, his expression, he's so cheeky, right? And I think this works quite well with the person that we are making. I'm not saying that Lex Fridman is cheeky. I'm just saying that there is something about this particular sculpture, this figure that I really like, and like I said, I'm gonna probably will try and use that as an inspiration. Not just that, but Donatello in general. And I would like to talk a little bit about Donatello, about the things that I not necessarily know about Donatello, but things that I think and feel when I see the work by Donatello. And I'm in Florence, so I can see this sculpture, for example, any day I want. I can see this one, I can see this one. It's in a museum here in Florence. So very lucky to be surrounded by such stunning pieces of work. Okay, so this is the final sculpt, and my conscience is now at ease, and I hope everybody else is happy as well, so we don't see anything that we shouldn't be able to see on a real person. It's not much, even though the I think the amount of work is quite something. At least 2 hours or something like that has been put into that. But just to compare, I've definitely, well, the first thing that jumps into our eyes is the change in the proportions, right? So he is now a bit bulkier, just a little bit kind of grounded, almost like the whole weight of the body is now going downwards, which is good, because I do want to have a feeling of gravity on a person, even though the pose is going to destroy pretty much all of that. Nonetheless, because this is the process that I've decided to go with, this is how I approach things. So he's now a little bit more grounded. He looks like he actually has some kind of weight right behind him. And in terms of the execution of things, this is now way more cleaner, that's for sure. And perhaps this is not the best example to illustrate everything, or so far the things that I've talked about, the things that I've talked about Donatello so far. There's going to be another chapter dedicated just to him down the line, but it does come back to the conversation about the forms and analyzing Michelangelo, the works by Michelangelo. So if you look at the feet, for example, at the ankles, we can see that, as I've tried to explain, there's almost like a layer of something thick in here, right? There's no wobbliness of this sort happening anymore. At the same time, we're not losing the interest that the feet actually have. Here the feet have more interest because we see the veins, we see the tendons, and I've basically just eliminated most of it in here. But that's it. That's kind of the process of sculpting. It's just cleaning things up, but not in just a straightforward manner, not in a sense that we just take a smooth brush and we clean the surface. It's about thinking. That's actually the interesting discovery that I've come across while making this character, and then going back to the recordings and just watching the whole process, is that the style that I've put into this, and I hope there is some style in here. The style is not something that just happens. Style is something that is the result of a choice. It's very strange, because to me, for quite a long time I was struggling with not this topic, but I wanted to have some kind of a style, because I was working in the industry for a long time, and because I realized that the industry has some rules, and the easiest thing to succeed in something that is structured is to basically learn the rules and then just be really really good at fulfilling those rules. And so, well, that's pretty much what I used to do. I've just followed some rules, some guidelines, right? And knowing that the industry likes those kind of things. And I'm not saying, by the way, that what we see here is somehow like bad, or the industry is doing something bad for artists, that everything that is created within the industry is somehow just poor quality things. It's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that it's very, if you have some kind of creative force behind you, the last thing that you want to do is put that force into some kind of constraint. Learning the rules, learning some foundation is a must, because you need to be able to guide that force. You need to be able to hold that force. Otherwise, it's just going to be explosive. It's going to be creative for sure, but it's going to be chaotic and explosive. So rules and guidelines and basic foundation of things like anatomy and composition and all those things, they are needed so we can so we can hold on to the force, the creative force, right? But the thing that destroys that force is the other constraints. And so the industry is mostly about the constraints. You will rarely see projects that do something groundbreaking, that go beyond something that is just immediately recognizable, something that immediately sells, right? So those things are usually coming from smaller companies, or the companies that they just want to do something else, right? That want to do something different, perhaps. And so I've struggled with this, because I've put myself in a situation where the constraints prevailed, and so having a creative force behind me locked up created this tension where I couldn't really see, or I wasn't even able to tell whether I had any style whatsoever. And so when I was thinking about the subject of the style, I always thought that it just happens by itself or on itself, right? It's just something that just happens. You take a pencil, you put it on the piece of paper, and you have style. What I've discovered for myself, at least, is that, as I just said a few minutes ago, style is a choice. It's actually a conscious decision. You experiment, you allow for the experimentation to unfold and to take place, and then you choose what you like, then you choose what speaks to you, and you put it inside and you keep it in there, and that's the style. And so here, even though it's very subtle, but I do believe there is style in here. And so perhaps this is why the whole process took me as long as it did, because, like I said, I have at least 4 recordings of this process, going from this to this, and the amount of work is not that big, right? And even if we're talking about the style, maybe the style is not even shown in here, but it is one of the I guess, one of the first projects that I actually allowed myself to do some experimentation, and it certainly created some tension, some hiccups. Perhaps later it will be demonstrated somewhere. Perhaps you will be able to see it yourself. But nonetheless, this is just something that I guess I wanted just to talk about. And in the end, I just wanted to get over the whole nudity issue for this particular project and show the results of the sculpture before I moved on to the head and clothing.